the last topic for this section of this show is about the
conviction heard around the world.
Yeah, I was looking for something else, but sure. Let's talk about. We haven't really gotten into like stuff like this yet, but yeah, let's talk about this, man.
Oh, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so
first of all, say what we're talking about.
We're talking about
a little bit of the history, so we know exactly, and then
we're talking about the murder of George Floyd.
Right.
Last year, May 25th, 2020. Right. A young lady happened to videotape the execution of this man by the hands of 4 police officers, right? Derek Chauvin, or Chauvin, whatever how we pronounce his name. Yeah. He was one. He's the main guy, and there were 3 others. I think there was I can't remember their names. There's a guy named Tao. There's a dude named Alexander.
Right.
And
Derek is the first one brought to trial and now convicted, partially because he did the most and had his knee on his neck, but also because he's the lead officer.
Right.
Of those 4, he had the highest rank, so he's kind of supposed to know better and be in charge and be responsible for everything all of them are doing.
I think it's more so because it was his actual knee that was on George Floyd's neck, and the person who put him in the life or death situation.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Somebody talk.
Yeah, so he was found guilty on all 3 charges, right? So it was like second degree manslaughter, 3rd degree manslaughter, and second degree murder.
Second degree murder, 3rd degree murder, and then manslaughter. I think that's the 3.
Is that what it was? Yeah. Okay. Second and 3rd degree murder, and then second degree manslaughter. We've been feeling like this crazy anxiety because, like, you watched Rodney King get beat, by 6 cops. You watched Eric Garner lose his life in Staten Island. You know what I mean? You watched Tamir Rice get rolled up on in less than 2.5 seconds and get gunned down, 12-year-old. You know what I mean? We watched Philando Castile die. You know what I'm saying? We watch and we watch, and nothing happens to these police officers. They're never held accountable. Right. And so we're on pins and needles every time. Like, when are we going to get some justice? We're not going to be able to get our loved one back. Right. But at least give us some justice. That person has to pay for what they did.
And even more on top of them paying, it has to be an example set and a precedent for the officers, because the old precedent is you're going to get off. You might be in the media, makes your life uncomfortable for a while, but they're not going to convict you. You're going to be good, or you're going to get very little punishment.
FTP.
So we need to change that to the microphone thing is blocking the shirt. So.
I know. For those of you listening to this on audio, I'm showing off my MCMI apparel T-shirt that says that says FTP on it. You can find this shirt available on MCMIReport.com. MCMI apparel, guys, where you can get shirts that say FTP, aka fuck the police.
Designed by LR Blitzkrieg.
or free the people. Or anything else you want to say, but
so what Keith is saying, like, we had this angst, like, is it going to happen again? And to be honest, I predicted him getting a lesser charge, and then getting not guilty on the higher charges, right? Which would
just because that's just how things have been going,
right? And sometimes they get acquitted of everything, but I felt like in this one the evidence is more stronger and in your face, so they're going to have to get him with something. But a lot of times they give you like a smaller, what seems like a slap on the wrist. You get like a charge that should have been for assault, you get that for murder. No, that's
it's more like it's.
How did you feel like before they announced it?
It feels like it's not how I felt before. I was still on pins and needles, right? But I don't know how you guys thought about it, but it's like we need expert witnesses. We need, the onlookers testifying. We need, people to give evidence of his character. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like we need the autopsy. We have the evidence right there.
You know, like you're saying, right? You need all of those things. We need to have a trial for for an extended amount of time, even though you have the video of it actually happen. You can just see this man's knee on this man's neck for 9 minutes, right? It should be cut and dry, like, yo, you're fired and you're going to jail, like almost instantly. But we have to do all of these things. And on top of that, you have to put the fear into to everybody by having protest over and over and over again, because you cannot think that any of this would have happened without, one, the videotape, right? Because what if there was no videotape? What if the cops took that lady's phone and smashed it? You know, and on top of that, a year straight of people going out into the streets and saying, this is not right, we're not taking it anymore. Every day.
And not only that, it was 50 states where they had all these protests, and it was 18 other countries. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Plus the UN. It's like, I'm like, you know, and still we were waiting, like,
and still scared, right? That we wouldn't get justice for something that, and then when we get it, we're supposed to be like, hooray! Nah, fam, that's what's supposed to happen. You kill somebody, you murder somebody, you're supposed to go to jail. I'm not supposed to be like, you know, amazed, exuberant, or amazed that it happened. I should just be like, okay, I'm glad that happened. Right. Of course. It's not, you know, and hopefully it's crazy because things keep happening, right? We've had so many instances since we got the verdict in, that we don't know if how the next one's going to go, right? We're still on pins and needles every single time.
And if the next several that are not captured on videotape, there's no guarantee of anything happening or having witnesses and things like that. But hopefully what we do need, I mean, this only showed that when there's an overwhelming burden of evidence and it's almost impossible not to convict, and you protest for a year, and people were speaking out on social media, people in positions of powers, officers, politicians, a lot of people were weighing in like, no, come on, you know, the whole tide, you can get convicted as a police officer. So the old idea was you never would get convicted. Now it's like, no, you can, but it had to have all these things to happen. So now we're going to have to really hope people videotape more. We're going to have to protest when all of these incidences, when they come out, in all ways, from letter writing to hitting the streets to people on platforms speaking out about it on their channels.
Because this is like so high profile. You know what I mean?
We have to do this so that we can have multiple convictions in a row, and eventually that will send a message to police who feel the freedom to, like, I can kind of do whatever I want. If I mess up, it's okay. Nothing's ever going to happen to me. I can go by my feelings. I can go by racism or any reason. No, you have to do your job correctly or you're going to be accountable like all the other professions in the world.
Exactly. You know, my thing is just that if you can do anything, right? If you can protest, if you can have an outlet like this where you talk about it, no matter what it is, you got to do your part, right? Or else it'll go back to them, people getting away with murder. And you have to show people that you care. You got to vote. You have to make sure that you put yourself in a position that they see you. You know, things can change, but you got to change them, right? You can't just wait for them to change on their own.
Right, exactly. So, you got to talk to people, have conversations.
You know. So yeah, the same way they you know, you just got to keep pressing them. We just got to keep pressing them until the right thing becomes the norm. You know?
Right. And it's not, this one incident is not going to make that, but it is a start that justice was served this one time.
Accountability.
We just got to keep up the pressure and not let this be an exception. And then 5 years from now, we're like, oh, it was just that one time. That was amazing. But then all the cops just got off in every other case for another 5 years. No, we have to keep up, be diligent. The video of George Floyd going viral sparked so much emotion, and that's what made the 50 states and the 18 countries people rise up and say enough is enough. But there won't always be that perfect storm of evidence and emotional video and all that. So we just have to keep this movement going on, you know, as we move on. Now, when I first saw that, they were showing another video, I think the same week, right? Daunte. Young man that was pulled out of a car, being searched or arrested and then shot in the chest. Yeah, they
pulled him over for having air fresheners in his, you know, on his.
Ridiculous, like.
And then, you know, he panicked and I think he tried to get back in his car and leave. You know, they was trying to arrest him.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, only 5 states still have that air freshener rule, or don't hang something, you know, fuzzy dice or something like. It's
so nuts.
The BS rule.
It's just an excuse to pull people over. It's just you just want an excuse. It's ridiculous. You know, I don't even know why they pulled over that Army lieutenant.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. They said that they couldn't tell his tags. They couldn't see his tags, but he had just now purchased that vehicle. You know, and he had the dealer plates in the window.
Right. What happened to him is he was complying at first, but then he was afraid to get out of the car. So he had his hands up. He's answering the questions. No problem. But
you know what? Just to preface that, they was trying to stop him, but he realized that if he would have pulled over, it was where he was. It was like it was not lit at all. So he drove slowly with his hazards on.
Where he could be seen.
Where he could be seen. So he stopped at the gas station with his cameras everywhere and it's fully lit. You know what I'm saying? Which is the smart thing to do these times.
Yes, or anytime. I mean? Like, you know, I'm not going to let you stop me on a dark road as a black man where there's no other people and I can't be seen, that you can just do whatever you want to me, you know?
The scary thing is a lot of places in the country, they just have 10 or 20 miles of dark road. So you just asked out if that's where you get.
I'll be like hazards for 20
miles. It was a gas station a couple blocks away. So he just very slow. It wasn't like a high speed chase getaway. He had his hazards on. He moved over. He slowly went into the gas station.
But this Lieutenant Caron Nazario, right? You know, he has his hands up and cops are yelling at him. He's like, "Yo, I'm afraid." You know, he has his hands up. He's like, "I'm afraid," and the cop has a gun in his face, talking about, "You should be afraid of me." Like, what?
You're gonna ride the lightning. You know.
And what's crazy is when you look at the video of him saying that, he goes like this with his firearm. He's like, "I'm like, are you really feeling yourself like you're a gangster? You're an officer. You're supposed to be a servant, a civil servant."
Right. This is how they approached George Floyd, right? He was in his car and they rolled up on him like this, gun to the face. You know what I mean? Off of a $20 that they still haven't found. They've never verified if it was.
That evidence never came to trial, right? They didn't have.
My thing is, why didn't they just go and check for the 21st?
Because then there's no crime, then it's all right. Well, whatever.
There are plenty of things that they did wrong. You know, from the very beginning of all of this till the end of it, until after it was over. You know, there were plenty of things they did wrong.
Oh my God, so many things, man.
But you know, going back to he was a lieutenant, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's in uniform, by the way, with his name identification on and everything. Like, clearly he's coming from work or something. Like, he's in uniform, and you would think that one uniform department, right, would show some respect to another. You know, when in the movies, sometimes you see like the local police are investigating and there's somebody, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, FBI." And they're like, "Oh, state police." And they show each other ID and they're like, "All right, cool." Because they have this mutual respect. They totally didn't have that at all in this case.
None whatsoever.
So when I saw the video,
and he said, "What do you like?" He mentioned some lower, you know. He said, "What are you, some special something?" You know, and he was like, "No, I'm a lieutenant." You know what I mean? It was like,
but he didn't say it with any attitude either. Like, he was just like, "No, I'm a lieutenant." He was just
So man, you're right.
It's messed up, man. But when I saw that video, I was like, something about it looks familiar. I was like, "Yo, I've seen this before." It was like a deja vu, you know? So I wanted to bring it up and show you guys, like, the car that this man was driving and the angle of the video camera when the police approached him and all that, and even him with his hands up.
Yeah.
It's just like a scene from a music video that we shot a couple of years ago for you, Blitzkrieg, the song Proxy.
Yeah.
And,
it's so crazy.
That song was about this type of thing. And
then, it's so crazy, but not crazy, right? Because like the fact that, you know, he's in a dark SUV. We were in, you know, a dark SUV when we shot it.
It was the same SUV.
The same angle, you know, with my hands up in the video. It's just like, wow, how uncanny is that? But it's not, because that's the same angle that so many black men are in when they get pulled over by the police. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
And it's so typical. That's why we played it like that. We were setting up the scene. And for instance, to me, like I was playing the officer in that. And so it was like, okay, how would I look, and how will my movements be if I was like harassing someone? Because we were talking about police harassment in that video. We weren't talking about just an officer doing his job correctly. So I was like, okay, I'm a scumbag and I'm gonna mess with this dude. So that's how I approached the car, and that's how I told you to get out of the car. And you were like, okay, I'm myself, I'm a black man in America, and this is happening to me. I would show my hands. I'd be like, look, you know, I'd be very reasonable. And yet the officer would still be like, nah, get out the car, throw you against the hood and all that. And the reason why we thought of that, like it was the cliche, you know, this is like how it always happens, is because it's happened so much. That's in our psyche in America as to what this looks like. It's, I mean, not perfect that the real one happened and it was identical. That's
not for nothing, but it's happened. Like it's actually happened to me, you know what I'm saying, on numerous times when I'm with UG or when I was with Rod, you know, or if I'm by myself, you know what I'm saying? It's like happens all the time.
Yeah, man.
The three of us are a little bit of a case study because we grew up together and we first started having cars, you know, teens, early 20s, and rolling with each other together. And me being a white kid, and y'all being black, and us driving around, occasionally getting pulled over. Sometimes I'm driving, y'all the passenger. Sometimes y'all driving, I'm the passenger. But we're together, and we saw dozens and dozens of times the different approaches and different ways police officers would speak to me and to you. And it's not all the time 100%. There's been times when everything kind of went by the book, was normal, get pulled over, ID, whatever. Then there's been other times, quite a few, where it was clearly racial profiling against y'all, or a permissive privilege type of attitude towards me if I was the one speaking to the officer.
Do you remember when they tossed the car?
Yeah, we had to get out, sit on the
You know what I mean? They handcuffed us. You remember one time G was driving, I was asleep in the passenger seat.
We were going to Minnesota to visit your uncle.
Right, Peppy. Shout out to Peppy. And on the way there, I get pulled over because we drove through a snowstorm, a blizzard, right? And then they pulled us over because they couldn't read the license
plate. That's kind of like the air freshener, like, oh, there's some snow on your license plate.
Oh, like it's a blizzard. We you know what I'm saying? And then after all of that, they put us in another car. They handcuffed us. They had the dogs. They tossed the car. They threw all our stuff. You know,
they took our luggage, our items, and just threw them in the street. And they do that to everybody. That's how they do it. They fucking disrespect
and then they gave me a warning, right? So I took that warning and wiped the license plate with it. Well, show me your shirt, Rod. Show me your shirt.
That's just one of many stories that we have.
Hey, I mean, listen, we could go on for days with these stories. I remember one time I was in the back of a cab, and they pulled the cab over. And when they pulled the cab over, they pulled me out and threw me against the car and started, you know, roughing me up. And I'm like, yo, I'm just a passenger in this car. If you want to pull over this cab driver, you can do that. But I'm in the back of a cab. Like, what is going on here?
Right.
And you know, after telling them that, you know, I had a family member that was a cop, they're like, oh, why didn't you say that in the beginning? I was like, I shouldn't have to. Like, what are you talking about? And then you know, then they stopped, didn't even apologize, but just let the cab driver and me go. You're just pulling people over. But whatever. It's all crazy. So again, as we're showing, you know, this video, I made this song Proxy about, you know, the police brutality and the ridiculous killings of you know, black men and women, and I even name a ton of them at the end of the song. But I kind of didn't want to do it in a way that just came out and was like in your face, you know, this is what this song is about. So I kind of Trojan horsed it with us being in Vegas, right, and partying and having all this, you know, having money and having the ability to have fun and do all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, it can all be taken away from me because a cop wants to pull me over and, you know, take my life just because, you know, they're fearful of all black people, or they're just, you know, racist, or for whatever the reason, they're not doing their job properly, because your job is to serve and protect and not to escalate situations. It's to de-escalate situations and you know, not senselessly kill people. So that's what the song was. And yeah, we got all of these great scenes of us, you know, just having a good time. And then at the end, the whole thing, you like you know, turns on his head. And you know, I'm pulled over by the policeman played by G, and you know, you can see where it goes from there in the
song
video.
has a great twist because you, like you said, you didn't want to start off with that. So for 2 verses, Rod is talking about other stuff, and a lot of it is about us celebrating life and going out and going jet skiing and spending money and having a good time in Vegas. So it's like we're partying, we're having a good time. You're like, yeah, you're being an MC, just having a good time.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like after, you know, when you get to verse 3, it's like that's where the twist comes in. So the reason I'm setting this up is, and you have that one line, I'd like you to say it. You said about something survived dead at 25.
Yeah, if you ask me, I'm actually just happy to be alive because the stats read that Krieg should have been dead at 25. So at the age of 26, that if I ever get rich, even if I'm on the verge, I'ma splurge like a bitch. I ain't fighting any urge, I'ma scratch that itch. Watch the video, guys. We're gonna put it up.
It's fire. It's fire. So it's a slept on LR Blitzkrieg joint. So go hit that.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Listen. See, if you ask me, I'm actually just happy to be alive. Cause the stats read that Krieg should have been dead at 25. So at the age of 26, said if I ever get rich, even if I'm on the verge, I'ma splurge like a bitch. I ain't fighting any urge, I'ma scratch that itch and use all the extra life till they patch that glitch. And everybody riding with me, we gon' pack that whip and add a girl on every lap with a rack and hips. Cause in a flash, it could be all over. You never know who'll try to roll you. The cops try to impose their will on you like it's a war and they the soldiers and you just a target. Something that they want to control, or maybe they just ain't reached their kill another nigga quota. So this is for PH, Tremaine Hall, and Peter Gillis. For my little cousins who ain't here, Rashad and Eric. For anybody that died unjustified for no reason at all, I'm a party in your proxy, this here is for y'all. For anybody who ain't never get the chance to ball, we gon' bow our heads, this prayer's for y'all.
For Trayvon Martin,
Michael Graham, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Walter Scott, Kai Gurley,
Sandra Bland, John Crawford, Amir Wright, Philando Castile, Elton Sterling.
Down to sleep, pray the Lord my soul to keep. And if I don't die before I wake, when I wake up, we gon' spin all this cake because I made it.
Yeah, man, Proxy. We shot that video out in Vegas a few years back.
Word. Those are those stories WildChild said, don't talk about that one.
That's a the behind the scenes for the Proxy video shootout in Vegas is a whole nother show.
Yo, we had so much fun, man. We had so much fun out there. We was in Atlanta before that.
Yeah, we was at A3C right before that, and then after that we jumped on the plane, went straight out to Vegas and shot for almost like a week, right? We was at We was at in the suite at the Planet
Hollywood. Shout out to Carlos Pittman. Shout out to you, bro.
Yeah,
hooking up that penthouse, right?
That penthouse was nuts.
We were almost on the top floor. Were we on the top floor? We could see everything on the strip. It was like
yo,
man, panoramic views. It was great.
Yeah, the race cars, the penthouse, everything we did, the whole
jet skis,
going out with the bike crews. Yo, thank both of y'all so much for like even helping me put that video together. Because even
Malik Williams,
even though it didn't get as much play as I would have liked, you know, because we just didn't promote it properly or whatever. That song was just like super important to me, and that's why I wanted to put it out first, because I felt that it was relevant in the time. Because, you know, of all the killings and police, you know, shootings that was going on. And G was right. G was right. He was like, it doesn't matter when you put it out because it feels like this is not going to stop.
Unfortunately. So MOK had a dream. So my dream is that one day that song won't be so relevant.
Yeah.
Cats will be like, yo, we haven't had that in like about 10 years since the last time there was a police misconduct of any sort or any racial issue.
The craziest thing was while mixing it, right, and mastering it, I went back maybe twice and added names to that list of names at the end.
It kept getting longer. I remember.
And at some point it was just like, yo, I got to stop adding names because I got to put the song out. But there's always another name.
There's always another name. There's always another name. Even when we were talking about the conviction of Chauvin, right? That day, there's another name that was added.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey man, too much.
And the next
too much.
day and the day before, it was a lot.
Too much death and stuff in this episode, unfortunately. But let's get into something a little bit more exciting and uplifting.
All right, what you got?
So